Shalom, everybody, and welcome to the Renaissance Woman page. I am here with my friend Zell, and we are continuing our leadership series that we do not only on the Hebrew Woman channel. It's going to spill over to here. That was the intention, and actually, this series actually started on the Renaissance Woman page, but it started on a smaller channel. So for those of you who aren't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And we're going to continue this series over here. Zell, I am really excited about this topic because I think it's really important. I've been excited about the whole leadership series, period, because I think it's just a topic that just never gets old because we all are leaders at some point in our lives, whether it's at home, at work, at play. We all, and we have influence. And I think that's one of the things that people have to learn how to cultivate their sphere of influence. But I wanted to talk about, since we have done so far, we just finished the 21 indispensable qualities of a leader by John Maxwell. And so as we get ready to go into the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, we wanted to talk about these workspaces because a lot of times these conversations aren't covered in the books. They just give you these. And I think the qualities are outstanding, but sometimes we need to get into the actual work dynamics that go in on a job because having those qualities are important, but also knowing how to identify and recognize what kind of environment you're in. So this
Mhm.
is a leadership series, and the our purpose with this series is so you can set your intentions and know your status in geography. And that comes from something that we have at work where we check the status and geography of properties and things like that. So I thought it made sense that that's how we get a outlook of what's going on in this neighborhood, in this community. We check the status and geography of issues in the community. And I think for you as a person, you need to check your own status and geography. So today's
Absolutely.
so today's agenda is we're going to talk about how to navigate a toxic work environment, and we're going to talk about your focus and intention. And two of the key factors that you're going to need here is self-awareness and reflections. And then we're going to give you a toolbox to help you navigate these type of situations. On the Hebrew Woman show, we talk about having a place where you can surrounding yourself with people who, as Zell likes to say, who are rooting for you, who are cheering for you, who want to see you do well. So you need to have wise counsel around you because we know where there is no counsel, the people will fall. That's what the Bible says. And yes, if you are a non believer, you might not like that, but I reference the Bible a lot because that is my roadmap. When we talk about checking your status in geography, that means and status in geography just doesn't just define where you are, but it's a chart that says your clear trajectory towards where you want to be, where you're going, and this helps determine your path for personal growth, professional growth, and it's not just about potential. This is about being intentional. So, because one thing about potential that I hate when people just talk about you have the potential to do this and you have the potential to do that. You could potentially be a bank robber, right? But I'm not going to rob
Yeah.
any bank. So, but this is about being intentional and setting your intentions. So that is going to set your trajectory and lead you on a path of where you're going. And one of the key things for me that you need to do is you have to recognize where you are. You have to
Yes.
focus on your locus of control. And that is recognizing what you can't control frees you to focus on what you can, your actions. That's what you can control, right? Your mindset, your reactions, tapping into your higher power for strength and then channeling that energy towards what you can change. So sometimes you're going to go into these work environments and you're not going to be able to change the culture there. But what you
Mm.
can change is your mind, your state of being. And so when we talk about your locus of control, you have internal locus of control. That is as you can see in the picture here, you can make things happen. This is what you know you can do versus a person who has external locus of control. They're just a person. All these things just keep happening to me. I don't know why this keeps happening to me. And so you want to be a person who can set your own path and not just be a victim. Zell, what do you got?
Oh, I totally agree. I'm looking forward to actually really talking about this topic because it affects us. Typically, it may be the environment, and it may simply be one individual and how we
Mm-hmm.
relate to that individual. In addition to that, I think we got to talk about whether or not we're that individual because sometimes
That's
we
real
may think
talk.
It could be that we're the odd man out. We're actually causing this toxic environment. So I'm looking forward to just
Exactly.
finding out, okay, well, what can I control and what, can I control inside and outside of me? Because it makes all the
Mhm.
difference in the world. You know where your limits are. And then maybe that could include, maybe I need to separate from this place because it's causing too many problems. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to talking about this.
So for this slide, I wanted to talk about, like, actually, let me go back. So checking your status in geography. For what you were just saying, I think one of the things that happens when you find yourself in a toxic work environment, you
Hmm.
find yourself living in shoulds. This should not happen. I can't believe this is happening to me. Why is this happening? This should not be allowed. And you keep waiting and hoping that somebody is going to come and fix it. Somebody is going to realize that
Hmm.
this is not right. People at the top, whether it's or personnel, your purpose, somebody is going to step in and make the situation good. And a lot of times that's just not going to happen, because if it was the case, it probably would have been addressed long before you got there. So we want to say, when checking your status in geography, again, back to the point on the first slide, it doesn't just define where you are, but it charts a clear trajectory towards where you want to be. So
Now,
the first thing
question
you
I
got to do,
have.
go ahead.
I have a question for you. So let's
Mhm.
define for a moment, and I don't know if you have or not, what are we calling a toxic work
We're going
environment?
to get into that. We're going to, but first
Oh, okay, okay.
we're going to dig right into that, and I'm going to give you a lot of clear examples. But I wanted to focus on your locus of control and where you are, what your status is first, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times we focus so much on the work environment that we don't see where we are and how we are contributing or participating in the toxicity. And so a
Oh, yeah.
reality check, and that's why I have here reality check ahead. So when you are in a toxic work environment, and I know the term narcissist is being thrown a lot around a lot, and sometimes in these toxic relationships at work, it is one with a narcissist, and sometimes or a myriad of other personality disorders. And but the first thing you got to do is check where you are, and if you are the source, because if
Mm-hmm.
everywhere you go, you keep running into these issues, you are the common denominator. But I also think we have to face the reality that we are living in a very different workspace, public space than we used to be in. You live in we live in a space where now you can just assume you're being recorded wherever you go.
Yeah.
And in that assumption, you can also assume that somebody may be looking for an opportunity to go viral. And sometimes in the workplace, somebody may be looking for an opportunity to remove you from your position because they want to be where you are and they don't want to do the work to get there. And sometimes people are willing to lie, steal, and cheat their way into success. They'll steal your projects, they'll steal your ideas, they'll take credit for things that you've done. And that's something that you have to be aware of, and that's why I said it starts with you, because
Mm.
throughout the common theme throughout this whole thing is going to be about you and what you can do. And so embracing the reality of your circumstances means that you're going to shed the burdens of shoulds, because shoulds are going to get you in trouble. And if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, right? Or if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. And I use Revelation because the whole idea was that you come out from amongst them. And that's something that we don't think about a lot of times when we're in the workspace. We think we have to participate in a lot of things and we have to be there, or you don't have a choice to walk away. But you do. You can come out from amongst them. And as Matthew 10 and 14 says, Christ said that whosoever shall not receive you nor hear your words, he was telling this to disciples when they were going out to share the gospel. But I'm telling you, this goes for you when you're going to share your work, your skills, your talent, what you do. When you go to share that in a workspace and you're not received, and you're not receiving the
Mm-hmm.
compensation, you're not receiving the treatment that you should, you got to shake the dust off your feet and move on. And that starts with, stop trying to wear shoes that don't fit. A lot of times
Mm-hmm.
you become a person who wants to go along to get along because you don't want to be the one to rock the boat. And that is also one of the things that contributes to the toxicity. Nobody wants to speak out, so everybody just starts shrinking. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into places you've outgrown or that you don't belong in. When things
So
are going
very
on,
true.
Office gossip. Detaching from what conflicts with your core is crucial. You know what principles, and when we talk about those 21 indispensable qualities of a leader, in order to embrace those qualities and to start embodying those behaviors, you have to shed these behaviors. And so you're going to detach from conflict. You're going to detach from things that conflict with where you are trying to go. Be bold and brave and step away from toxic environments. And sometimes, and we're going to talk about that. So now let's talk
Okay.
about how do you identify a toxic leader? So you see here in this picture, this guy's walking over this employee. That's what happens in these workspaces a lot of Dale. You feel like a lot of times your voice isn't heard, and a lot of times you're presenting ideas and contributing to the group, and those ideas get pushed aside only for you to come back around at the next meeting. Lo and behold, here comes your leader taking take like this, presenting your idea as if it was theirs. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
a a toxic work environment does not happen in a vacuum. It starts at the top. So
So
here I
true.
found there are some really great resources too. I will tell you guys, Google is your friend. There are a lot of tools, and just like this chart here that was on, I believe this one came from LinkedIn. I got a couple off of LinkedIn about how to identify 10 traits of a toxic boss. So micromanagement is one of them. You know, this person is breathing down your neck. Everything you do is wrong. They're just they can't let go. So there's just constant micromanagement,
Ah,
consistently hovering over employees and not trusting them to complete the task completely or independently. They got to have their fingers in everything.
that is
Favoritism.
very true.
hmm
Okay.
Favoritism is
'Cause
something that, go ahead, Adele.
I'm sitting there
Just
thinking
tell me
about that. I'm
anytime.
thinking about the idea of micromanaging and and the reason I'm saying I'm interested. I'm gonna let you go all the way through these, and I'm gonna come back and talk about it because I've
Well,
had
I'm about to say
conversations
we
with
can
people on
dig
some of
into each
these.
one of these because I do think micromanagement is something that we can literally dig into all of them. So go ahead.
Oh yeah. Because I was thinking about, I had a conversation. I was accused by someone as being micromanaging or micromanaging them. And it's kind of interesting because when you start talking about micromanaging, there's a difference between making sure you're reaching your goal and you're meeting, your needs are met and you're following through and you're doing something compared to if you're if every step you take, they're standing there looking at what you're doing.
Right.
There is a very big difference. And that's why it was kind of interesting when I saw the micromanaging, because I'm sitting there thinking, if I would basically, what I was doing is I gave him a task and then I walked away and I would check in like maybe the next day or two. That, from my perspective, is not micromanaging. But I think that
Mhm.
what he had an issue with is he would have an idea that he thought was a great idea and he put energy into it. And then when I said no and I tried to guide him in a different direction, he felt like no, he wanted to go with his idea. And he was a young engineer and he felt like his idea was great. He couldn't understand why we couldn't go with his idea versus going in a different direction. But
So let's
so
flesh
you
that out.
uh-huh.
Let's
Yeah.
flesh that out because I do think that there is a difference between micromanaging and making sure for those of you who are in leadership, you will that is one of the first things that some employees will do to you. They will accuse you of micromanagement when really they don't want any oversight at all. So that is a
Right.
component of this discussion that needs to be had because some of you are the toxic employee
Yeah.
who is, we're talking about a toxic boss, but we're going to get to the characteristics of toxic employees too. They do not want to be held accountable for anything. And they have a
Hmm.
problem with the rules. And so what they end up doing is trying to make it seem like they are being victimized when really, if you have a supervisor, their job is to oversee the work. It's not to be on top of you. And you will know the difference when somebody is just checking in versus they're basically harassing you. If you are a newer employee, nobody is just going to let you go on unleashed. You don't know anything.
Exactly.
I would definitely think in terms of engineering, that is something that you need to keep a close monitor on new employees.
And it's different depending with whatever industry you're in, it's going to be different for each industry. So, if you're doing one job, it may literally be just a matter of months. They may spend more time with you. It may be only a few months where you're going through what I would consider training, and and so
Mhm.
somebody's going to give you more, a little bit more attention while you're in the training stage, while you're in probationary stage. But then as the longer you're there, they're going to slowly back off. That's why you're there. If you're hired, they're not hiring you there just to do work. They're hiring you
Right.
there so that at some point you can stand on your own and you won't have to be monitored. But I
And
would
I think
never
that is a
hire
trait of a
somebody. Huh?
no. I was gonna say I think that's the trait of a toxic boss to just
Yeah.
give you work and not ensure that you're doing it correctly, not help you and check in and see if
Mhm.
you're doing the task correctly.
Right. I wouldn't
No
dare give you
training.
someone work and then walk off and just leave them and then
Hmm.
when they mess up or things go wrong, then fuss about it. No, you left them there
Yeah,
by themselves to do whatever it is. And that's horrible to do to somebody.
it's a balance, don't you think? Um,
Absolutely. And
and
absolutely.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we can move on with the next traits. But yeah, I
Well,
mean,
actually,
I huh?
go ahead.
No, I'm gonna let you go on with the next trait.
Okay, but so yeah, so micromanagement, I do think it is a balance, and I would just suggest you from somebody who has your own best interests at heart and who will be honest with you and let you know if you are the problem in the situation. If you feel like I feel like Sheila is micromanaging me, this and lay out
Mm.
your argument because I do think that is one of the key things I think you can do is to seek out a mentor when you start a new job. Seek out somebody who's been doing it and watch and be ready. But I would say if you're a person who you can't stand correction, you're going to struggle even as a leader. You're going to or whatever type of position you're in, you're going to struggle if you can't receive correction. The Bible says that God corrects those who he loves. So if you don't want to be loved, you're going to have problems. And I would say at work they don't love you, but you got to be able to take correction there if you want compensation.
Mm.
So another trait you're going to see is favoritism. You're going to see them having enforcing rules for you, but not to their pets, right? These people you'll run into situations where such and such gets to leave early. They get to bring their kid to work. They get to do a lot of things that you don't get to do, and it's just blatantly obvious. You want to document these things on get you a calendar. I have my calendar here, and I just wanted to show you guys the what I think is
Mm.
a really good calendar. And I got this at Target, and it has the columns. I don't know if you can see them where you can write in spaces, and it does have the calendar block. I got stuff written on that one, so I'm not going to show that one, but let me see. But there's a place for notes. So when you could because you want to keep even when it's not a big deal, right? When you think that it's something because one of the things too when you talk about checking your status in geography, you're going to be in denial. I think at the beginning of this toxic when you start recognizing that you're in a toxic work environment and you'll let things pass like, oh, she didn't mean that. But anytime you start a new job anywhere, I would strongly recommend that you have a calendar and things that are even if it just seems a little bit off. That's one thing that I've learned that I never did at a job. But you are going to wish you had documented these things because you'll be trying to remember, oh, what day was that? When did that
That
happen?
is so true.
Anytime you notice something is off, write it in your calendar. That's
That
one
is
of
so true.
if you don't take anything away from this stream, take that. Get you a calendar and write down everything that happens that is not above board. That comes, you keep a work journal, buy you a journal. That's another thing we have. I have here, I bought these planners and journals. I love TJ Maxx and their journals and Home Goods. They have journals. Get you a journal and do not, whatever you do not leave your journal or calendar at work.
Oh,
Don't
so
say, well, I
true.
have a drawer. I can lock it up. Honey, they have keys to these things. And I'll start talking about some of the tools and kits and things that I have that I use on my job, but you need a calendar and do not leave your calendar at work.
Hmm.
A lack of empathy. They don't care what's going on with you. They just want you to produce, gimme, 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 disregarding your people's needs, being insensitive, and not showing compassion or understanding. Somebody's mom died. I worked at a place where when my mother died, they said nothing, did nothing. And which I talked to the supervisor, he expressed his condolences, but people like to know that a sympathy card, a
Hmm.
plan. And if you don't want to do that, fine. But I would say that is that's not a place you really want to work because there are certain milestones that you're going to encounter that you're going to have in life. And those things are going to happen to you while you're on a job. And not saying that anybody needs to baby or coddle you, but there are just some expressions of sympathy. Allowing a person like I recently was allowed to take 2 extra days of bereavement once my grandmother just passed um, last month. You want to show compassion. And for those of you who are in a leadership position, it means a lot to your staff
Hmm.
when you show them that you care when they go through these major life events.
And I
It does.
mean,
Go ahead.
and what I was thinking about is they should actually have some semblance of empathy for what you're dealing with overall. And I'm talking about
Hmm.
even concerning the job itself.
Yeah.
If you're in a situation where you're confused, you don't know how to do something, you have a question and nobody wants to answer it, or they don't know where to tell you to look, or everybody's too busy to stop and help you or to point you in the right
Yeah.
direction, or well, hey, I found this, because I've seen places where you have somebody that's new, and it might be as simple as, hey, I was looking for this file, or where do I put this, or how do I find this and this, I don't know where this is, and nobody wants to tell them anything.
Yeah.
They just
It's
like,
very
whatever, I
dismissive.
don't know,
You'll
and just,
figure it out.
yeah, and it's like, what? Why not just answer the question? All
Right.
I asked was, where is this, and this, or what do I do about this? Where do I find this thing? I'm confused. I don't understand how this works. Do I need, and, those are some basic things that should be handled, because I will tell you this. You should, most companies are going to have you in some level of training when you start the job.
Hmm.
However, most of the time when you're in that class, that stuff doesn't stick. Okay.
No.
You hear it one time, somebody tells you something one time, you're not going to have absolute total recall when you get ready to go to work. So when
Yeah.
you start working your job, you're still gonna, okay, some stuff you'll remember, and you might take notes. They may give you a manual that has a lot of stuff in it, but you're gonna go back, well, wait, now how do I do this again? Now where is this? And it may be some little detail that you've got a question about that during training, you didn't even know that that would probably be a question.
And you
Other
don't know
people,
what you don't know.
exactly.
But I
It's
do
not until
say
you get
too,
into it.
I will say this too to that point. There are some places, like, for example, we give you everything you need to be successful in this
Mm-hmm.
job. You have a training manual that literally has step by step directions for everything. There are some points, if you're supposed to be an independent operator, I expect you to at least attempt to try to find the answer before you come and ask these
Right.
questions.
Right.
Because for me, the fact that you have this information at your disposal and you haven't even attempted to look at it or read it, you're just coming asking questions, it gives me an indication of how you are going to perform out in the field.
That's
Because if
true.
you're not asking questions, if you're not trying to find information on your own, you're going to run into trouble in certain jobs, like the one I have, or the people who I supervise. They have to be independent thinkers. They have to be problem solvers. If
Mm-hmm.
you are not a problem solver, you are going to struggle. You know.
I agree.
So
I totally agree.
and keep in mind, you as a leader. Yes, I am here to coach, to supervise, to assist you because if you fail, I fail, and I'm not going to fail. So I'm not going to allow you to fail. But at the same time, I expect you to do the work.
And
To
see, there's a
attempt to do
balance
so.
here.
Mhm.
There's a balance here because just like I'm not micromanaging, that
Mhm.
means I shouldn't have to hold your hand through every single thing that you're doing.
Right.
Because in a lot of cases, if you're coming to me asking me basic questions all day, it's going to make me think, okay, you didn't get what you needed to get in training. Maybe we
Right.
need to send you back through training
Yeah.
because you shouldn't have questions all constantly about everything. Something was
Especially the
missing
same
there.
questions over and over again.
Yep, exactly.
If we've already covered this, we covered it in training. I've went over it with you at least for me. If I go over this with you twice already, I
Yeah.
want you to go look in the manual and tell me where this is. Come back. And a
Hmm.
lot of times, what I'll do too is I'll tell them I want you to go find the answer and come back and tell me what you found out.
Exactly.
I require them to come back and tell me what they found. I don't let it just go
Hmm.
and fall by the wayside. No, you need to come and tell me what you found because I need to
Exactly.
see how you think. I need to see how you're operating because I have to do your service rating. I have to rate your performance. And so
Hmm.
there are some things that I have to let you scavenge and find for yourself. You have to go forage the information. Another trait in the toxic leader is they fail to reward and recognize. Not acknowledging, rewarding, or appreciating the contributions and achievements of employees is another sign of a toxic boss. That is true. You just your team is busting their hump and you don't say good job. There's no type of employee
Hmm.
rewards. There's no type of employee recognition. People get tired of that, especially if they're really working hard for you. If they're
And
going to infinity and beyond, go ahead, Sam.
and one thing I want to say about this,
Hmm.
because this does not necessarily mean, because most bosses I know, for me, I don't have the ability to pass out bonuses and that type of a thing.
Hmm.
And I can't necessarily, but when someone does a good job, I can say, good job. Okay, yeah, that was a good catch. I like that positive reinforcement goes a
Definitely.
long way
It
for
does.
things. When people are doing stuff and you let them know, I mean, you do that with anybody, whether it's with your kids, your friends, let them know, hey, I see you. I see that you're really trying. I like that
But
you're
not
really
only
trying
are
to,
you reward
yeah.
recognize it, you will go to your superior too and see about getting them rewarded. If it's just let's start having an employee of the month. Let's
Yeah.
buy Carl lunch because he really went above and beyond. That is where, as a supervisor, if you have a boss that is not toxic, they don't mind going to bat for you and going to ask for rewards for you. Can
Oh
we
yeah,
get
for the
Carl lunch
larger
today?
items, yeah. And see, I'm just
Yeah.
talking
Can we
about
get
like
him a
small
swag bag?
things in a day,
Yeah.
encouraging them along the way. I'm not even necessarily talking about big items, but just little things to encourage people. Hey, you're doing good. I understand, you got it, you can do this. And so just being supportive and letting them know, hey, you're doing fine. You're going, when people get discouraged, because I've had people get discouraged and then they
Hmm.
start feeling like, I don't know if I can do this. And I mean, just little things when they actually accomplish something that they may not have even been sure about. Just reminding them, oh, you're
Yeah.
doing fine. I like what you're doing. And it may not even be someone that's on my team. I've seen other managers when they're struggling with their department, because even with them, letting them know, hey, you're doing fine. It's gonna be okay. Trying to give
Hmm.
them support and reassurance that it's gonna be okay. Because if we're not, I don't want it to always have to be a big thing or a big it doesn't always have to be a big thing, because if
Well,
you're
that's
not
why I
careful,
said lunch
it can be
because buying
little things.
somebody
Just
lunch
being
is not
supportive.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being supportive and buying somebody lunch, those aren't big things to me. Giving somebody a certificate, they've gone above. I'm talking about if they're gone above and beyond, it's not a big thing. But I do think, like you said, recognizing the little things matter too.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yes.
that was good job, good answer.
Hmm.
You're having a meeting. That was a great presentation. So I do agree with you on that. But I think a good leader will advocate for their team and reward their success and their wins. Another trait you'll see in a toxic boss is they have poor communication, withholding important information, being vague, not giving proper feedback and guidance. So I encountered that as well, because what they do is when it's time for your service rating, they have all these things that they want to list that you didn't do or that you're not good at. But, well, where were you during the year when these things that you say I'm not doing well were occurring? Where was the feedback? Where was the help? I just added Des to the stage. Where was the feedback? Welcome, Des. Where was the support and guidance to let me know that you didn't like my performance? And I feel like it's not fair to give somebody a poor rating on things that you have not guided them on, a feedback that you have not given. So if you're not giving this feedback, then why do you rate me poorly when I haven't heard from you at all on this issue? I think that's problematic and it creates resentment in the workplace. And it also creates a situation where your employees are going to file complaints against you. Another toxic trait is inconsistency, being unpredictable in one's behavior or making a decision. When you have a supervisor or a leader who can't make decisions, they vacillate, and it's really difficult when you talk. And I think poor communication and inconsistency go hand in hand because they are a person who can't let their nays be nay and their yays be yay because they don't want to be the bad guy. They don't want to deliver bad news or they're wishy washy. It creates an unstable work environment because number one, you don't feel like you can trust this person. I don't know that even going to you to receive advice is something that is beneficial to me because you never have any positive, you never have any feedback that is of any assistance to me. You allow an environment that is a free for all, and it's just anything goes. Zella, you have anything to add on those 2 points?
No, not
Okay.
so far. So far, so
Mhm.
good. Oh, where
So I
does
think
go?
I think inconsistency is a problem because people want to when they come to work, they want to show up knowing that this is what we're doing, that your leader is clear, that they have clarity on the mission. If they're not clear on the mission and they're going to allow anything, just like with the favoritism and anything goes, or you can only show empathy towards your favorite people, that just creates an environment where people are just negative and they don't feel safe and they don't feel like this is something that that they can contribute to in a meaningful way. Another trait of a toxic boss is they set unrealistic expectations. Setting unrealistic deadlines, pushing too hard, and giving people unreasonable workloads. So giving somebody a load of stuff to do at the end of the day on Friday and saying you need this by Monday. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that creates a toxic work environment. You set a goal too high. These are not smart goals. These are not things that we can follow step by step. It's just totally unrealistic. Blame shifting, refusing to take responsibility for mistakes or failures and instead shifting the blame to team members. Well, they're just lazy. I just can't get them to perform. I can't, when it's really, you are the problem. You don't set any clear goals. You don't set any clear boundaries. You allow the office environment to be toxic and you don't discipline anybody because you don't want to be a bad guy. Or you create an environment where everybody's scared to death that they're just one write up away from being fired. It's just something that results in high turnover. And again, it definitely hampers productivity. Resistance to feedback, rejecting feedback or refusing to consider alternative viewpoints. They don't want to hear anything you have to say their way or the highway. They know all, they are the all seeing eye, and you don't know anything. They do. They know everything. Hostility and aggression, displaying anger, hostility, or aggression towards team members, either verbally or non verbally. So I had I've had a supervisor I watched when I started on another job just slammed the door in another employee's face. When they saw them approaching their office, they had their door open, and when the employee was coming to go to ask her a question, she just closed the door in their face.
That
Yeah.
is crazy. I cannot believe
You're
that is.
muffled.
Hello? Is
You
that
were
better?
muffled. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. That's crazy. I cannot believe somebody did that. That is insane. I
I've
mean,
been
that is
attending
so,
some I've been
and
attending some leadership workshops, and the things that I'm hearing people say that they're encountering in these workspaces will blow your mind. From when employees are sitting together collaborating on how to push forward a project, telling them to stop talking to each other and go to their office. They're not allowed to. I've had a supervisor accuse me and a group of team members who were meeting to discuss some issues in the work problem solving the workplace, accused us of uh, colluding behind her back,
wow. And
forming
see,
a
that to
clique.
me is insane. Or, I mean, just some of the stuff is just that type of thing makes me feel that the person themselves, that they are rude. And it makes me wonder, but yeah, that would be an absolute no to me. That person is going to need to be dealt with, and no one is going to stay working for them for any length of time, in
Mhm.
my personal opinion.
Now, on the flip side, employees can exhibit this behavior at all. I mean, as well, because you need to do your check your status in geography. Are you one that is running around the office trying to micromanage people, pretending like you're a supervisor and you're not? You're in everybody's business, telling people what to do as if you're in charge and you're not. You have your favorites. You don't have any empathy for other people. You're trying to actively get people fired. You have poor communication skills. You are always in some type of altercation at work, arguing with people and then blaming them. Everything is everybody's fault but yours. You're a liar. You will lie on people in a minute. Or just period. No one can take anything you say to the bank, just like your boss, because you're liars. You're inconsistent. You're hostile. You're aggressive. You walk in the office. You don't speak. You don't say good morning. You always have. People think I can have resting bitch face if I want to, but what kind of environment are you creating when you're having in this resting bitch face? I'm not telling you to come in there smiling like a Cheshire cat all day, but do you have to be so rude? Do you have to be so negative? Are you always talking about somebody? Do you always have your mouth on somebody? Look at what she got on. Did you see what she ate? She ate all that. Mind your own business. Zell, what you got?
I'm just I'm sitting here listening to what you're saying, um, and that is so true. I mean, I couldn't even imagine, and I've heard stories about things along those lines, but I couldn't even imagine people being like that, and I'm talking about to be in a leadership position at that. But you're
Hmm.
absolutely right. Those are the types of things that happen, and it's just and I wonder, like, when I think about that, I don't know how long I would last. And I've known
Hmm.
people that almost feel like that. I've heard people say that those types of things were normal, that type of behavior was normal, and even overlooked by their boss's boss. And so you go
Yeah.
on up the food chain, and they're all like that. They all, one boss is kind of shown the other one that they can get away with it. And so in leadership in general in certain places have been like that. And I'm
Yeah.
just at all. But to me, I think that when you have that type of thing going on, it just goes to show, in my opinion, that company is not going to progress. They can't, because the morale is going to be painfully low. I just have a hard time seeing. I think that the company overall is going to end up suffering when you don't treat people fairly and correctly. You got to treat people like they're people. And there's no shortcut to that. The company is going to suffer if you don't.
Turnover is always going to be high. You're always going to be training, and when you're having the turnover that high, it costs the company money. It costs the whatever organization you belong to. It costs you money when you're spending time, work, man hours training, constantly training. There's a book called The No Asshole Rule: Building a Civilized Working Workplace Place and Surviving One That Isn't by Robert L. Sutton. That is a good book because that saying is true. Assholes hire assholes. So that's one thing about a toxic work environment. The people who are assholes that are doing the hiring, they hire assholes. So you're in an office full of assholes. So you really have to decide what you're going to do, what your next move is going to be. But let's keep going with identifying this workspace, right? So, 5 signs of a toxic workplace. Shalom, Sacred Beauty or Scarred Beauty. Um, one of the we'll just go through each of these here. So, 5 signs of a toxic workspace, and I found these on LinkedIn as well. These are great. There are a lot of great tools out here. Me management. It's all about them. They got to have all the attention. They have to have all the glory. Everything is about them. Any shine that the department gets, it has to be about them. They allow the rumor mill to run rampant. There's a rumor mill. Poor, and we just talked about this. Poor employee retention, unconstructive feedback, high volume of sick calls. So you guys are always short staffed because everybody's always coming in. Why? Because nobody wants to be there. Employee retention is high because why don't I want to be there? We're always short staffed. I know I'm going to be the only one there. You know what? I'm just going to
And
call in
nobody
sick.
appreciates you. Nobody appreciates that you're
Nobody
working over.
appreciates.
Yeah.
Nope. Nobody appreciates the overtime. And as a matter of fact, you watched other employees who, anytime you asked them to do overtime, they were there. And you fired them over nothing. That's the type of thing that goes on too. 6 signs of a toxic work environment. Here we go again. One consistent theme here. You see the rumor mill. You see the employee turnover, poor communication, no motivation. People aren't motivated to go up to infinity and beyond. Nobody's going to do anything. I had when I worked at Botanical Garden doing security part time. There was a guy. Actually, I worked 2 full-time jobs, so I was actually there full time. But I digress. But he would always have this saying. He said, "Minimum output for minimum pay." I'm not doing
That's
anything extra.
terrible.
He said, I have minimal output for minimal pay, little to no growth. It's a dead end job. And you guys know, I told you guys I worked for a department for over 20 years, and I just had to realize that I had to make a decision. There was nowhere to go. Constant conflict. Somebody is always getting into it. There's always some type of disruption. There's always some type of drama going on at this workplace. This type of hold on, I didn't mean to go forward. This finger pointing here. This is the type of behavior you see in a work environment. There's yelling. There's shouting. There sometimes it just gets violent. You know, some employees they have really bad behavior. They will threaten supervisor. I've been threatened, So yeah, some people just really need to be fired because they're just totally dysfunctional. You know, yeah. What is that? My work will reflect what you pay me. I heard that. So here are 11 signs you're in a toxic work environment. Abusive leadership and management. This is your supervisor doesn't know how to talk to people. They tell you to shut up. They're yelling at you. They don't know how to communicate. They yell. They don't know how to give any clear directions. And because they have poor communication skills, they get angry and they take that out on you and they start talking to you crazy. Uh,
I don't hear you. Hello? Is that me or? Yeah, Ren, I think you might be muted. You are muted, Ren. Hello? Yeah, there you are. I still don't hear you. Okay, okay, she's gonna leave and come back, and we'll continue the conversation. If you just hold on for a minute, we'll be right back.
Can you guys hear?
Oh, I hear
Can
you
you hear?
now.
I don't know what's going on. I totally lost my camera, and I don't know how many audio, but we may have to restart the stream um, because I cannot. Well, we'll try to go on like this. I don't know why I've lost the camera.
I was trying
Um,
to ask, I was about to ask Scar Beauty, what happened at Walgreens? She was saying
Let me
something
post.
happened at Walgreens, and I don't know what
There's
that
the link
was.
in the chat for. Let's finish going through this chart real quick. Um, Picking up where we left off. Um, Harassment of any kind is allowed. People are allowed to, pretty much you have guys that may be sexually harassing women, they're not held accountable. Women may be sexually harassing their male co-workers. I've seen that happen, and nobody's ever held accountable for anything. Um, People are threatening each other. There's no accountability there for that. Nobody wants, because again, you have a supervisor who doesn't want to be the bad guy, so they discipline no one, and so your workspace is basically a free for all. And I've experienced that as well. Hostile interpersonal relationships. These employees are constantly creating drama, and nobody's doing anything about it. And the people who are actually speaking out and trying to address the issues, they are the ones that are seen as the problem. What happens is you end up becoming gaslighted when you are in a hostile work environment. They start blame shifting, and you are the issue. Hey, Scar Beauty, you want to go ahead and share with everybody what happened at Walgreens?
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I was asking because is there's literally I saw the post yesterday, so it's kind of good. Well, not kind of good. It's great that you're having this topic. So yesterday I came across a video where a young lady, I think she was like 23, no, she in her 20s, early 20s. Her coworker, and I'm not sure if the coworker was a supervisor or anything, but in the video it says coworker. But the coworker is berating this young lady, calling her out of her name, like talk. It's bad. So she recorded it and she posted on her TikTok. And
Mm-hmm.
after posting it, she's been fired, even though the lady in the video, I think she was 35, and she, just treating this young lady like she's just scum. Like when I tell you, cursing her out, like she was nothing. She was not nothing but the name that her mom gave her, and it was just weird because they fired her. Walgreens fired her, and now they found the lady. You know how TikTok goes, they start searching for you, they expose you. So yeah, they found her, they posted her everywhere. I mean, if y'all wanted to look it up, I think it would like go really
If you
well.
want, we can add it too, because this is going to be an ongoing series, because we're not going to get all of this done today. We can definitely pick back up on this tomorrow or the next day we do this, and you can share the video with us. Send us the email, and that goes for anybody here. If you have any topics or videos that you would like us to discuss or cover, please send us the email at sister7@gmail.com, and we can add that to the stream so we can. That would be that's a great example of what I was talking about. When you're in a hostile work environment, the employees that are being abused and that are trying to speak out and deal with the issues, you are 9 times out of 10 the one that's going to be terminated. The person, the supervisor, or whoever that's engaged in the behavior, they are not held accountable, and a lot of times they're not going to be held accountable because for the company, we would be admitting liability. We would be admitting that there is something wrong here. That's the perspective that a lot of these companies take versus taking the idea we're removing the problem and addressing it, the issue. They take the stance against the employees and always side with management. And that is something that also results in a high turnover because you see that there is no accountability for management. Thanks for sharing that story with us.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
because
no
really
problem.
what happens, oh, go
Okay.
ahead.
I'm going to remove you from the stage. Thank you.
No, that's okay. Yeah, you're good. See y'all later.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I think that is one of the issues that a lot of people encounter in toxic work environments. That the only accountability comes is from the employee that has recognized and identified that it is a hostile work environment. You are the
Mm-hmm.
one that is going to be seen as the problem because you are speaking out. What they really want you
Exactly.
to do is just shut up and take it.
Exactly, exactly. And see, what would happen is the only way around that would be if you sue and you have to have evidence. And the
Yeah.
fact that she was able to have it recorded, that really puts that company in a bad position. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing the video to find out exactly what happened because they're going to try to spin it. Because right now it's going to make them look really bad, and they're going to try to spin it in some type of way. And I'm going to be interested to find out exactly what they try to say what was happening there.
Exactly. And we're almost at our hour, so we will pick back up on this. I don't know if Zell can join us tomorrow or sometime. I'll set when we come up with a time schedule. I'll post a video and you guys will see the time. I was late today because I realized that I'm not going to be able to do the morning shows like I wanted to. It'll probably be in the afternoon on Sundays. But we're going to keep going on this track. So if you guys have any questions about navigating a toxic work environment, we're going to get into after we finish talking about how to identify this workspace. We're going to get into tools that you can use to help you navigate this work environment, and also so that you can have what happened to that young lady not happen to you. And if it does happen to you, you'll have a legal standing because you have documented from day one. So from this stream, I want you all to take away. If you have not gotten one, get one today. Get you a calendar, much like the one similar to the one I showed you earlier on the stream, one that has notes, one that has where you could put in your hourly schedule, top goals, notes, all these. You really want to get an expansive planner where you can put in the dates and times of each incident that occurs, even if you're not having, because this is another issue that I see a lot of people get in trouble with these toxic work environments. You know you're in a toxic work environment, but you feel like, well, they're not bothering me. You're not going to say anything. I can tell you right now, it's only a matter of time before it comes around to you. And your silence is complicity. So when your turn comes, you're going to get exactly what you're giving, silence. Nobody's going to stick their neck out for you because you've been silent the whole time. So you do have to make decisions. And whenever someone comes and there's a group of you, you're going to have more power if you all stick together. Or you're going to have what happened at the place I previously worked at. The supervisor was able to come in and pick off individuals one by one. The turnover was extremely high. And I always wonder, isn't somebody going to ask, why do all these people keep resigning? Why do all these people keep quitting? No, because they don't care. They literally don't care. And that's one of the things you're going to encounter, especially if you're in the public sector. And we're going to talk about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Private sector versus public sector. So when you're in a private sector, issues like what happened, especially if you work in a at-will state, Walgreens terminating that young lady like that, that's just going to be commonplace because it's at will. They can get rid of you whenever they want. So unless you work a job where there is a union and they have to follow certain procedures to fire you, there's no safety net. There's no protection. So it's literally, you can lose your job at any time. And that is why we're going to talk about developing an exit strategy as well, because you can count on it. They're going to come for you eventually. It's only a matter of time because toxic people are not happy unless everybody's unhappy. So, Dale, you got any final words before we go?
Not at the moment. No, I just, I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing what happened at Walgreens. And I will say this, there are, and just one of the things I know at some point in the next show need to address is things that can be done when you're in a toxic environment, who to report, because there are different organizations out there that you can report to when
Yeah, we're going to
when
get
you
into
feel that
all
you're
that.
being
We're going to
treated
give them, yeah.
unfairly. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to give them a toolkit, not only a resources of who they can
Mm-hmm.
contact, and knowing when to contact an attorney. And part of you being able to do that is your meticulous documentation. So again, if you don't have a notebook, if you don't have a planner, get one and get it today. Start documenting today. It's never too late to start. Start immediately. And you may have to go back if you can chronicle some previous events that you didn't notate. If right now, try to jog your memory and go ahead and document those so that you can have it in a notebook. Um, Scar Beauty says, I learned that HR is there to protect the company from the employee, not the employee from the company. Exactly, but that's the whole purpose of personnel. HR is there to protect the interests of the company and to prevent libel, to prevent them from being sued. And they are always looking out. HR is not your friend. And one of the other things we're going to really dive into is that you don't have any friends at work. It may feel like it. It may seem like it because you're in proximity with each other every day, but these people are not your friends. Have you ever worked somewhere a long time and then when you leave, you don't even talk to these people anymore? That's the reality of it. These people are not your friends. They're not
That
your
is so
work
true.
family. They're just people who you're sharing a common aim, and that is to do that job. Once that job is complete, the relationship ends. Once you leave, a lot of times it's over. You don't hear from most people anymore.
So
Yep.
true.
So yeah, so we will see you guys on the next stream, and we're gonna finish breaking down the signs that you're in a toxic work environment, and then we'll get into giving you tools to help you navigate a toxic workspace. But actually, for the next stream, I would like to hear more from you all. So let's share some videos with us that you all would like to see us talk about. Share some stories, or if you have any questions, please send them to sister7@gmail.com and we will cover these questions. And since my camera stopped working, I can't even share any of the things that I have here. But I also
Mm.
have some things, recorders, cameras, and things that I've purchased to assist me in dealing with a toxic work environment at work as well as documenting. There is no reason for anybody not to be documenting and writing down instances that happen at work because you have ChatGPT, you have Gemini, you have Copilot. You can literally put on the voice prompt and just talk to it and tell it what happened, and it'll write the narrative for you. There is no reason for you not, and we'll get into the use of AI in helping you document as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Shalom.
Hello.